finally getting into what we came here to talk about and not all this other shit. Gravity Falls had its series finale the day before we are currently recording. And it was extremely good.
It was so good.
It was very good.
Gosh.
It was, in a way, perfect. And one thing that I find interesting about it is that, and I haven't been following other people's reactions, but for me personally, it's like, it's just what the show was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It feels like. Like, there was a lot of, it feels like because of a show like this that has had all these, like, twisteries and everything, that it was gonna, like, subvert it, do something really crazy at the end. And it didn't. What it did was it just dunked the rock from where it was already standing.
Yeah. It did everything it set out to do.
Yeah, there was no, like, crazy 11th hour shit that really went on. It wrapped up all these character arcs. Because at that point, really, where this episode started, a lot of the mysteries were already solved.
Yeah.
There was basically just one more thing, and that was the Zodiac. And then, we had that moment, but everything else was wrapping up character arcs. Because that's ultimately more interesting.
And what's the most important?
The mysteries are what hook you. The mysteries are what get the fans to be like, oh, what's this gonna be? Oh, what's this gonna be? It's what really hooks people into it. And all the mysteries were great. Their solutions were good, and they weren't like lost shit where it's like,
I was about to say, yeah, that was Lost's biggest flaw. If you're gonna make a finale that focuses on characters, you gotta clean up the toys that are on the floor now before you can play with your new ones.
I mean, that's the thing about Lost, is that they didn't know what they were doing. After a couple of seasons, it was extremely obvious that they did not know what they were doing.
Yeah, they wanted to make it a mystery, but they didn't know the answers to the mystery. Whereas with Gravity Falls, they always knew what the mystery... Hirsch had pretty much the idea. He and his team figured out what was going on and wrote from the perspective of people who didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. If you watch that Mystery of Gravity Falls special... That was really informative and interesting about all the little details that him and the crew did to make this show brilliant and everything that it was.
Yeah, like between this Pine special, like,
yeah,
Hirsch mentioned what we were saying, that like, the mysteries are great and we're glad everybody likes them, but at the end of the day, it's the characters that make the show what it is, and what they wanted to impart. And like, but they do go back, and he says, like, how all the way back in the episode with the wax heads and stuff. I don't remember what that one's called.
Headhunters.
Headhunters. Yeah. And how Stan has this complex with the life-size wax figurine of himself. And when you're watching at the time, you think like, oh, he's just kind of egotistical and narcissistic. But then Alex is like, well, I mean, having a mirror image of himself to like hang out with was sort of nice for him, and that kind of is part of the whole psychology of this character. And it was like, oh,
if someone other than Alex Hirsch, if somebody like just on Tumblr came up with that theory, I would have been like, that's stupid and an enormous stretch. but fuck yeah.
There's so many little details. If you haven't seen that little special, there is some stuff that a lot of us, especially very meticulous fans, are probably aware of. But he does talk about some things I hadn't heard of before.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't follow the conspiracy theories online too much.
Yeah, me neither. And that was the other good thing about the show, is like so many, like, some stuff, it's like it has one thing about it and it is what it is. And if you don't like it, then you're not going to like this. It's like, now Gravity Falls is like one of those shows that, quote unquote, has something for everybody in a way. Because, like, there are those fans that, like, obsess over the mysteries, but it's like, I adamantly didn't obsess about the mysteries, and I went on a rant about this. I went on a rant about this back when Grunkle Ford was first shown, that, like, I fucking hate how people come up with these theories and spoil me before it's even confirmed. Because, like, oh, Grunkle Stan has a twin. What? Yeah, look at all this facts. It's like, okay, I mean, sure, and then Gravity Falls shows up and Grunkle Stan has a twin, and I'm like, God damn it, I can't be surprised!
Yeah.
And see, here's the thing, is I truly believe all these fan theories, what it really boils down to is they're throwing all the spaghetti in the world at the wall, and eventually these typewriter monkeys are gonna be right.
I mean, they did crack the codes, and when Alex showed where some of those codes were, I was like, okay, these fucking people are geniuses.
Yeah, no, that's legit. I'm talking about, like, the theories. Like, I've seen some theories that are such immense dog shit. Like, I saw a theory about this guy who was, like, you know, breaking down, like, illusions and everything that were in the Dipper's Guide to the Unknown series of shorts, and he's, like, completely adamant that there's a third twin who's, like, another Mabel, and they were calling them LaBam, and it was so horrible. And he was, like, I have never seen this much conviction from any human about anything.
That's like the bigger Luke theory in Star Wars. Do you guys know about that?
It has something to do with the stormtrooper armor?
Yeah, well, just because, like, in some shots of the film, because it's, like, you know, for continuity purposes, that, like, in Hollywood, for some reason, they'll cast actors that aren't as tall as they want the character to be, so they'll shoot it in various ways, but then sometimes the continuity fucks up. And so somebody, I hope satirically, originally, I mean, now, obviously, it's 100% satire, but back in the day, I hope whoever thought of this was also joking. But, like, they were like, well, clearly, anytime, like, clearly throughout these movies, there's two different Lukes, and we're just never seeing them in the same place at the same time. Because one is slightly taller.
Oh my God. You have no idea how satisfied I was to know that the Bipper thing was just a bunch of crap. Like,
which one's Bipper?
The one that Bill was, like, permanently fused with Dipper, and, like, the real Dipper died and all that stuff, and I was just like, oh, I'm so glad.
Dipper's shoes are off on this album.
Because, like, I was getting bombarded with posts about it.
If you submerge Dipper's hat in water, it turns red.
Because I had a friend who, you know, like, a lot of people who I find to be the most obsessive about the twists and stuff are people who discover it sort of later on in on the show's run, and then, like, marathon the whole thing, and then are like, oh shit, I got... You know, and, like, I have to figure out the secret of the mystery now! Whereas, like, for people who've been watching it towards the beginning, it's just kind of like, I mean, yeah, I want to know what's happening, but, like, after a while, like, I can't keep up this pace. Like, it's taking forever.
I have a friend who will remain nameless or he'll kill me out of embarrassment. For the entire first season of Gravity Falls, was convinced that Seuss's backstory was that Grunkle Stan, through some alchemy means, turned a gerbil human. He was convinced!
Oh my God.
Sweetie baby. Little honey pop. Oh.
And, like, I think the only reason he's convinced is because 99% of the time he's honestly really good at theories. But, like, so I think he just got a little hoisted up on his own petard, or however that saying goes.
Oh, man.
I guess a brief plot synopsis, or do we just want... let's assume everybody's seen it.
Yeah, let's just assume.
I mean, yeah.
So, like, the whole, like, week or so up until the drop of this final episode, Gravity Falls has been getting a lot of press. Variety, AV Club, IGN, comicbook.com, a Polygon, like, a bunch of places. And some of the stories are really neat. I mean, a lot of them are kind of repetitive, you know, Alex explaining, like, this is what I always wanted to do. This was what I pitched in the beginning. Also, do you believe he's just turned 30?
Dang.
I'm like, what the Ugh. You know, talking about the success and stuff, and a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of different of these press websites have gotten some neat behind the scenes featurettes of, you know, different things. Alex Hirsch interviews with the guests.
I'm glad these non-cartoon focused news sources are actually giving the production some sort of time of day. Because do you remember? I forget what news outlet did it, but there was that Wander Over Yonder interview with Craig McCracken, and it was just the dumbest bullshit.
Yeah.
Just like, wait a minute, do you mean that cartoons are good and it takes effort and skill to make them? Craig, you're blowing my mind. My readers are gonna flip. I hate you. I hate you, sir.
This is a scoop of the century.
Is this a scoop? Probably my favorite one is the AV Club release, because it's an interview with the woman who's writing the article and her twin boy-girl kids talking to Alex Hirsch.
Oh, dope.
It's adorable.
And they're Nina and Theo. And And they're asking him questions. Like, Theo's like, what's the thing with the UFOs? And Hirsch actually explains some things in this article to these kids that's not really explicitly said in the shows. Like, how, he said, like, the entire Valley of Gravity Falls was formed when the UFO crashed. That we kind of knew. But for, like, that was just, like, billions of years before, like, anything happened, dating back to, like, dinosaurs and such. And the fact that this metallic ship has been under the town for the whole time. And whenever there was, like, native populace, you know, they always bumped into, like, chunks of this metal UFO. And it's sort of, like, the reason why it's such a weird, crazy place. And he gives some other background, too. Like, the kids are really neat. They ask some really, like, questions like, where's Wendy's mom? And Alex is like, I can't tell you that.
I don't know. It's too sad.
And the one kid is like, if I can guess Dipper's real name, you have to give me a free copy of the upcoming Journal Number 3 book. And he doesn't guess the real name, but he does say that it is similar. It has, like, a thing with Mabel's name. It, like, has plays off of it and stuff. It's a really cute interview. I love when little Nina asks, why is Bill so mad at the world? And Alex has to explain to these kids, like, oh, okay, how do I explain this megalomaniac, insane psycho person I created? And he does a really great job. He talks really well. He also talks about Mabel and Dipper's parents and how, like, pretty much the whole time they're really unaware of what's going on. They get, like, little photos and stuff from Mabel and they put it on their fridge and they're like, well, everything's great. And they
We're
don't
great
really
parents.
think about it. And because they think that Stan is Ford, because they heard that they had, you know, there's this cool scientist guy in the family. So they're like, okay, we'll send him to this cool scientist guy in the woods. It'll be great. They had no idea that he ran a mystery shack or any of that stuff.
I feel like they would have been in worse hands with real Ford.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't know how to take care of kids. So what? You kids like eat or something? You like food, right?
Stanley's approach is really, you know, teach him how to swim by just kicking him into the deep end. But you learn how to swim.
Yeah.
and it's kind of neat. Like, you know, he talks about his sister as well, but because he's talking to a pair of boy-girl twins, it's a different tone. You know, he's talking about, like, what it's actually like growing up so much and, like, what it's like being friends and being not so friends sometimes. Like, it's kind of interesting. It's sort of like a different side of the story, and it was just delightful. And that is a thing that's happening. The Journal Number 3, it's going to be a 288-page full-color hardcover book that are going to be released July 26th of this year. That is going to be the full journal, Dipper's entire journal. So presumably any sort of secrets that hasn't been solved here in the finale will be in there.
Great.
And that is his swan song, and then he's done. He's out. He's outie 9000.
He dipped to Japan.
He's like, Disney is on my ass.
Oh, do you guys see his shit in Japan?
Yes, the Groundhog Day thing.
He just he just randomly appeared in, like, Good Morning Japan or whatever. He was just walking around as a tourist, and, like, this
Ohio gozaimasu.
Ohio gozaimasu. And this news station approached him like, oh, look, it's an American. Explain
it's a white person.
Oh, it's a white person. Please explain this holiday to us. And they're like,
you've got a big nose and you're dressed like a ding-dong. Explain us.
Groundhog's Day, and it's like,
why do Americans care so much about this ground rat, about this big fat gerbil,
about this dirt pig? Rough translation.
And you know, they overdub it with, like, a Japanese vocal person speaker to, like, you know, be like, talk over him, like, it was
yeah,
it's a gem.
And he's like, well, it's not, like, real, but we still do it.
He's like, it's also not very accurate. Sometimes we get different results every year. Like, it was really...
I think I looked up the statistic. They're actually, like, there's only a 39% like accuracy rating, so it's more, you have a better bet calling the groundhog a liar every year.
The worst part about Puxatawny Phil is that they had the chance to make his name alliterative and then, like, almost did it and completely fucked up. Puxatawny Pete, you dumb dicks.
It was so funny because he was like, he was being a tourist. He was out with like his lady friend or whatever. And he was just like, oh yeah, I'll talk to you about Groundhog's Day. Like, oh my god. Why? But yeah, there's been a lot of really cute stuff popping up on the internet, and it sort of prepared me for the episode. It got me more in the mood. Because as we discussed before, Gravity Falls airing schedule has been pretty on and off in this last season.
It's amazing that the show has thrived despite Disney Channel's, like, intentional or not, attempts to just fuck it.
Well, they re-air episodes all the time. And that's really where kids grab onto shows.
That is true. That is why the show works. Because we've talked about this with Cartoon Network. It's like, a lot of, they may have fixed it, but like Steven or Adventure Time, like they weren't having reruns for a bit. And like, that means it's airing just once a week, which is really no good for kids who have obligations. But yeah, if they're, airing it all the time, then yeah, that's where the core audience that matters is gonna be into it. Whereas, adults like us who really love it will wait for it. And, the downside of that is often will really overreact to everything and will demand too much of it. Whereas, kids are just like happy to see their favorite show. And obviously there's a ceiling to that. Like I always used to get so sick of seeing the same episode over and over again. Of certain stuff, like, why don't they play my Favo one? But, I still always wanted to see my Favo episode a ton of times.
Yep. It didn't matter how many times I've seen that Powerpuff Girls episode. Whenever it was on, I watched it. It was my favorite. I loved it. And
which one?
Any Powerpuff Girls episode. Oh. When I saw the Powerpuff Girls was on, I watched it. I changed the channel and I watched it.
Yeah, and I think that was like Disney's cushion to like allow themselves to stretch this out, because it's like there's not. I saw like an image set on Tumblr of like a little thumbnail GIF of every single Gravity Falls episode, and I got to the end of that list really quick.
It's 40.
There's not it's over like 4 years.
It's crazy. I mean,
they stretched this out because they knew it was going to end, and Disney doesn't know how to do that. So they were like, I guess we just gotta keep it going somehow.
This show started the summer after I graduated high school and before I started college.
Yikes.
Like, I was a different person back then.
That's so crazy.
I was like thinking back to it and I was like, oh my god! Like
I forgot that 4 years is the span of like a school chunk or whatever those are called.
A school chunko.
A career, they sometimes call them.
Like
that's That is the craziest thing about Gravity Falls.
If Gravity, like any freshman that watched episode 1 of Gravity Falls is graduating.
Yep.
Get it, Nina.
Get it. No, it's like, no wonder I don't remember a lot of the shit that happened in the beginning of the show, because it was fucking 4 years ago.
Someone asked me, like, so, what was your favorite episode? I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
Going back, I was like, the last episode had so many references to the first episode that I didn't get, because I haven't seen the first episode since summer of 2012.
I mean, I remember the very first episode, because that was a rare occasion where I actually watched it multiple times, because it was all we had.
I remember it too, but like I don't remember everything about it. I remember that
Schmebulok.
I remember Schmebulok, but I don't remember that guy that Mabel's flirting with in the Mystery Shack and how he appears in Weirdmageddon Part 2 with the absolutely, positively. Like, that's a reference to that guy from the first episode, and I was like, what?
Oh.
You mean Tad Strange?
No. And when we go to Weirdmageddon...
Here's the thing, Tad Strange is a recurring character. I don't remember that motherfucker at all.
I know!
And he's a great goof. His name is Tad Strange, and he's the most normal character, and he's played by the Night Vale guy.
Yeah, he's played by Cecil Baldwin.
When they go to Mabelland, and we see the cityscape, and there's this boy with the sort of, do you like me? Check yes. Definitely, absolutely. Remember that boy? Kind of?
Yeah.
No, he was in the first episode, and Mabel gave him that check yes if you like me thing. And that was what it was referencing back to. And I didn't remember that shit. I was going back watching, like, old clips, and I was like, oh! I forgot that Dipper had an opening narration.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He did, and I was
That's something they really stuck with.
Yeah, because in the closing narration, I'm like, oh, this is different. And then I was reading stuff and we're like, it echoed the first episode. And I was like, oh, I forgot. I just remember Schmebulok and the golf cart.
Grappling hook!
And grappling hook.
And the barfing.
And the barfing.
Yeah.
The rainbow barf?
That was in all, like, the promotional shit for, like, the first 17 months of the show.
17 months or 6 episodes.
But one of my favorite things about, like, reading all these articles on these, pretty major news sites is all the comments from parents saying how much that their children loved this show and how much they bonded. Both the parents and the kids would watch it together. And I'm getting a lot of reoccurring comments are like, oh, my son really loved his show. He grew up with it. He started watching it when he was 6, and now he's, what?
It would be 10.
10.
He'd be 10, and it's his favorite show ever, and now he feels like his childhood has died a little bit, but he was still happy because it's so good, and I was like...
You're 10! Don't ever think that! You have so many Pokemon to catch!
That's some millennial shit that you need to put to bed. Or I guess Gen X was doing that first, But you know what that makes me excited for is that specifically that it's a son. It's like he was 6 and then he's 10, and now that he's 10 is going to start to be interested in girls, and hopefully this show taught him to be fucking cool about it, to not be your typical goddamn fuckboy.
No,
who's like, I'm going to trick her into liking me. Like,
yeah.
That's great.
No, it was crazy. It wasn't 10. He was 13. Like, my 13-year-old son, the same age as the characters in the last episode. He's been watching it since the show started. And now it's over, and he's like, oh, man, I feel like part of my childhood's gone. But it's still really great. I'm happy that it was so great. And it's like, what?
That's so mature of you, homie.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have a lot of comparative experiences, because, like, cartoons back when we were younger... We're just like, everyone was just like, run that shit into the ground!
I guess the closest thing would be Avatar, but a lot of the kids that I knew who grew up watching Avatar didn't watch it all the way through. They fell off at some point.
Yeah.
Because they went to either high school or middle school or something, and you stopped watching cartoons.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
I fell off of Avatar. I never saw season 3 until like maybe a year or 2 before we started doing this podcast.
Yeah,
during that period when it was all on Netflix, because I had obviously seen all of season. I'm not even sure I'd seen all of season 1. I think there was some filler. No,
I saw every episode of season 1 multiple times.
Yeah,
and some episodes, and like the first third of season 2, but then I went to high school, and middle school, whatever. I didn't watch cartoons anymore.
I never ever fell off for a day of my life, and realizing that everyone else had was like my first step into realizing, like, I guess I should just fucking do this forever. That was like, I'm not even joking. Like, I was like, oh, I just sort of woke up and was like, because like for some reason as a kid, I never talked about the media I consumed anyway. Like, that was just something I didn't do with my friends for some reason. We had other shit to talk about, like where the fuck Mew was. We never found it.
Yeah.
Something about a truck. It's all fuzzy.
You guys didn't crack that actual code that works.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We didn't find out that there was an actual way to do it.
No, that was discovered in like 2011.
I didn't fall off because I wasn't interested. I fell off because I wasn't. Every day when I came home from school, I wasn't watching cartoons anymore, and that's how I used to know when the new episode was going to be on, because it was such an irregular airing for that show as well. So, I'd come home and go on my computer instead, so I didn't know what this crazy-ass schedule was, so I sort of forgot about it.
When I started using the computer, I still kept the TV on in the background. Like, I kept the TV on for everything. My TV was consistently on forever.
We only had one TV in the whole house.
Except
for Nikki's video game TV, which was a piece of crap.
Yeah, that one didn't get, televised visions on it. It was just for video games.
Yeah.
It wasn't hooked up to the cable.
And my sister was entering that age where she would just come home and watch cartoons, and I don't know, what was I gonna do? Like, tell her to move over and change the channel? I don't know. I was jerking it off or whatever. I was going through puberty. I had other things to do. Other dumb things to do.
I had to get this poison out of me.
I have to discover.
Jesus Christ.
Can we not?
Yeah, we can't.
I was not ready for that, Neil.
Sure. I'm just saying, it's just crazy to me to see this reality. And the fact that it's so many parents. Like, I go on Twitter and it's all these parents saying, my child loved this show. He used to watch it with his dad, my daughter, my kids. They used to watch the show together. They loved it. Like, it's crazy. Parents thanking a person who made a cartoon. I'm so used to parents hating cartoons. It's, like, crazy that they're, like, actually thanking these people. Like, thank you for making such a wonderful show that my children liked so very much.
Okay, I found an equivalent. I was 13 in 2004, and that's when Samurai Jack ended, and it had a 4-year run. So that's
But
one.
that just ended.
It had like the last one was like.
The last one was the one with Momotaro. Did you know they were getting canceled?
I think by that point it had been really sporadic, and I had known by that point in my life what the signs were when a cartoon was starting to peter out. Because, in that era, cartoons kind of just petered out. There wasn't a finale, because there wasn't a start. Yeah. It was just like, let's just make episodes, and then we will run out of money.
And Samurai Jack had half of that. It had a beginning, and then it just petered out.
Yeah, that's what this show didn't do, and it's remarkable.
Yeah, and from everything Hirsch has said, he had to fight every step of the way to make sure that he was able to tell the story in the scope that he wanted to tell. Like, I was going to say, like, the way he wanted to tell, but obviously things change in the process of TV development. That's fucking insane that this is exactly how he planned to do it. But
no, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that the Mystery Files special or whatever kind of like he flat out is like he tells a bunch of stories about what all the other people on the crew contributed to the show, like how like a lot of people thought that like the Lammy suit song that Dipper did as a kid was something from Alex Hirsch's childhood, and he was like, no, that was a completely different guy who had to do that as a kid. Like, thank God it wasn't me.
I don't want to be that Dorcas.
Yeah.
Lammy.
And that also illustrates that, like, this show is his brainchild, and it had him in every bit of it, but it wasn't all him, because that's impossible.
It's not how it works.
And it's something that, like, I keep having to explain to my dad and stuff, like, when he watches a particularly good episode of Adventure Time, I keep having to remind him, like, yeah, but that wasn't all Penn Ward. In fact, at this point, even before he stopped being showrunner, his involvement of it was not that deep. He wasn't, coming up with everything.
Yeah.
He had his fingers in it, but he's not writing every episode.
I mean, Hirsch co-writes all the scripts for all the episodes, but he co-writes it with like 5 other people.
It's a team.
There's always a lot of work.
There's no such thing as auteurs in fucking animation, and if they are, they're lying.
Well, Miyazaki kind of
short films you can do,
and Miyazaki who does write the entire storyboard and script by himself.
Serialized television productions.
Absolutely.
Television, no. No, it does not.
For what it's worth, Satoshi Kon was also an auteur.
Yeah, he also did his own storyboards by himself. The entire storyboard for the whole film.
Yeah, like you can do short films, and if you're a legend,
if you're a crazy person,
if you have no,
then you can do it in cinema. But in TV, it's simply impossible.
Like Miyazaki for like fucking Princess Mononoke, he went over like 400,000 individual cells by himself to make sure they were correct. People, that's not the normal thing that you do.
No, that's not what you don't. That's not the abnormal thing. That's some other thing.
That I don't even know what it is. That's
not out of the ordinary. That's just he's Bill. He's like the opposite of Bill Cipher. He's from some other dimension where that's possible, but he's a cool guy who just wants to make cartoons.
So let's see.
I feel like we haven't talked about the finale itself a lot.
Yeah, let's dive into that.
This is a combination of both finale and series retrospective.
Yeah.
But like the finale itself, like what did we really get out of that in terms of an ending? Because I really feel like I came out of that with a lot of with a lot of shows, I'll find myself being like, oh well, it didn't have enough of this character and it didn't have enough of the stuff I want to say. Like this, Gravity Falls, the finale was basically like, yeah, this is everything I wanted.
More or less. And it was everything you expected to be, because I remember like a couple hours before it was going to air, I was like, well, to be honest, like, it's just a matter of wrapping things up. They're going to defeat Bill, because of course they are. Alex isn't going to have them all die. That's not what's going to happen.
He will reference their possible deaths a lot, more than I thought Disney would ever allow.
Yeah.
But they won't actually do it.
No. And it's just a matter of seeing how it goes down, seeing how everybody wraps up the relationships, and seeing how they walk away from Gravity Falls to go home. And that's what it was.
Bill legit says, I need to go turn some kids into corpses, and I was like, whoa!
No, Bill is great. Like, he really does live up
he's
to...
not fucking around!
No, he is not. Like, the part where he has both of, Dipper and Mabel in his hands, and he's like, which one? And, like, that was actually very scary, the way it was presented. Like, how he was flashing back and forth between their zodiac symbol or whatever.
He's so hilarious, though.
Oh
no, it's Bill!
Like,
That's what you're thinking, right?
what was the song? Like,
We'll meet again.
The Strangelove song.
Don't know where.
The Freakazoid finale song.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen that movie, but that's when he's riding the bomb, right?
Yep, that's the very end of
Yeah.
the film when everybody's exploding.
Yep.
Yeah, at first I didn't recognize it, and I thought it was that song from Muppets Take Manhattan.
Another thing about that scene, like the part where Ford sits down on the living flesh couch.
Yeah, I was
is
very
not-
surprised
no.
they got away with that.
Not as creepy as when Bill drinks the martini
Yes.
with his eyeball.
Yup.
I almost hurled, and then the couch
Really? That
happened.
didn't bother me.
It skeeved me to my core, and I don't even understand fully why. I guess, one, I wasn't expecting it. Two, I just sort of went like, because I saw he had the drink, and my brain saw him go to sip it, but because I'm so used to seeing people drink things, my brain didn't go, oh, wait, the only thing that it's going to be is the eyeball, and before I could even have that thought, it was the eyeball, and I went, oh my fucking Christ, because it's an eyeball. Nothing related to the inner workings and details of an eyeball is nice. It's all bad. It's the worst kind of surgery. It's the worst kind of injury.
They take an amberfied dinosaur head and rip it out of his body.
Yeah, oh, that too!
I'm sure Tooch was very happy because there was a mech.
Yeah, just like the last season finale.
And it was also a Jaeger.
Yeah,
They
it was
literally
a
had
Jaeger,
the two people synced up. Grenda
and then, like, fucking Seuss
Candy.
introducing fucking Fiddleford to anime, and, like, it was, like, a cliche anime character, but then also just clearly an Evangelion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Larry King head, I forgot about him.
I need some num-nums.
Larry King wants num-nums.
He's doing it again. All the characters that returned. It was great, and I guess the one thing that I think some fans might not be happy about is the thing with Stan.
Yeah, that.
To be honest, I didn't like it. I didn't want him to die. I didn't think it would have made it better if he died. I'm just saying, it was kind of quick and kind of clumsy. I
I
felt.
don't think it was necessarily clumsy. I think it definitely happened really fast, but also, like, I don't know. Before that happened, I was trying to conceive of an outcome for a fucking like a well written and not dumbing down, but still like children's cartoon. Like, he just doesn't remember the family that loves him forever for the rest of his life. Like, that's not gonna be how it ends. So
Yeah.
when it happened, I was like, okay, well, this is how they're gonna solve it, and then it worked, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I was just like, I figured he would remember eventually, but I thought it was like really fast. Like, they barely had any time to mourn or anything. It was just like within an hour.
It was still pretty, like, I was heartbroken for that through those couple minutes. I felt it. The impact for me was fine. Like, it wasn't gonna get any sadder.
I cried more when they were saying goodbye at the bus
Oh yeah,
stop.
no, absolutely.
'Cause that's the kind of emotional stuff you appreciate more, in that it's not just sad, it's like, it's
Yeah.
a huge confluence of complicated emotions.
Yeah.
All of which are related to coming of age.
Yeah.
And family and
Yeah.
love and like finding a place for yourself with other crazy kooky people. But yeah, what I didn't mind and what I actually really liked was the thing with the Zodiac, because that build chart has been built up since I don't remember.
Forever. It's
Episode 1.
It flashes
Episode 1.
in the opening theme.
It's been brought up since day one, and everybody and their grandmas has been trying to figure out what it's supposed to be or what it's gonna mean. And I love how at the end it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
no, we're just gonna. It's like, oh no, how do we defeat Bill? I'll just shoot him with this gun. Like, not technically. And then Stan one punch mans him into oblivion.
That was so cool because he was 100% Schlubly Pines. He was his schlubbiest, and he's like, this demon is just ripping apart from things. He's like, I'm getting the final punch. Fuck you.
I'm going to punch you with my fist.
And then just and it was also a great character mode. I was like, I'm finally good for something. Which, like, obviously he was good for stuff before that, but that's,
Yeah.
this sad man's,
Yeah,
feelings. Because he's a sad man. He's not like,
He's a
we're
very
not going
sad
full
man.
on Bojack or Rick Sanchez, but, like, he's a sad man.
He's kind of close. Like,
He's been living a lie for, like, 30 plus years.
and before that, ever since he left home, his life was just not a life.
yeah, no,
Like-
he was a bum.
He was a bum. Like, the scene where he's, like, in his car and, like, wondering, where am I allowed to go? Where can I go? And he gets the idea to see his brother. It's like, he's already at his lowest point.
And that brings me to like a thing I had like a point of contention that turned out to be fine when I was watching the episode, because again, like, especially the episodes post Ford reveal, they were so sporadic. Every time I watched one, I always had to remind myself what Ford was even like as a character, and especially with this one, like when Ford's gone for the first half of it, and like the episode starts and goes until the very end with Grungle Stan being against saving his brother, and for that whole time I'm like, man, Stan's being like a jerk for like, I can't figure out why. And then Ford shows up and starts doing his Ford thing and just like not really acknowledging him or like mostly anybody, and his one-track mindedness, and is just so sure of every fucking thing. And the grammar line, oh, I would have thrown down too. Holy shit, what is wrong with you, old man?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, never mind, Grungle Stan's great.
Yeah, no, like, at first I was like, why is he upset? And then I was like, oh, wait.
They're both, oh wait, I forgot they're both a little bit terrible.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wait, this was his time to shine,
Yep.
Because I thought back to the Stanchurian candidate, and that whole thing was just Stan trying to make himself a person. And so in the beginning of this finale, he's like the mayor's, like what he wanted to be, to prove that he's a worthwhile human being. So I got it.
Which is obviously, like, pushed through the filter of his ego, which he definitely does have.
Oh, yeah. He has to have it. He would be dead in the ground if he didn't have that ego. That's what keeps him going.
Basically.
30 years being alone and longer?
Yikes.
But
But now they're fine, and they're on a boat punching squids.
Oh, that was so great.
What I love about that is that it's like, yes, all the mysteries of Gravity Falls have been solved, but that doesn't mean there aren't more mysteries in the world for both the older Pine Twins and maybe in the future the younger Pine Twins to solve. There's still always going to be mysteries. They're just not related to this one triangle dick.
Yeah, and
how about a comic book? You've got Marvel now, Disney.
Yeah, that's what Alex said was probably the most likely thing, was to maybe do a comic book.
Yeah.
Now, when he said that, did he say if he would have his hands in it? Because I thought his intention was like, nope, I'm done. I mean, obviously,
because of course,
right.
in all these interviews, everybody asks, "Is this the end? Are you never going to come back?" And he's like, "Look, I've been working on this for 4 years straight, longer, 5 years probably, because the pre-production development. I'm very tired. I got to tell the story I wanted to tell. I'm not saying no, because I can't say what future me is going to want in this era of reboots and redos and all this stuff.
He's not Time Baby.
He's not Time Baby. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He says he's not completely throwing it off the table. He's not going to say, I'm never going to touch Gravity Falls again. He's like, it's a possibility.
Usually, like, because I don't look for hints and clues and shit, so when I kind of noticed a couple things that made my mind go places, I was like, oh, fuck, well, then maybe it is something. Like there's a couple Bill things that sort of, like, hint that he's not gone.
Well, Bill's body is petrified.
He's still a statue. And then also, on his deathbed, he yelled out a bunch of backwards speak that I heard, because obviously they immediately reversed that shit and put it on the internet. And it was basically like a spell like pleading to whatever vague dark forces for him to return.
Yeah.
And all that good shit.
Hell, the squid kind of looked like him.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I mean, yeah, and that's another thing. Like, he's still the residual weirdness.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm sure that's probably a Sherlock Holmes type thing where it's like they wrote the end, but then left some shit open in case they need a paycheck. That's what Conan Doyle did.
And, there's some... It's sort of what Ford implies that, it's not 100% over. Like, there's still, there might be something. Who knows? But, Alex essentially said, like, he's going to do the journal number 3, which is going to be a lot, because it's going to be the whole journal. Every note, everything.
Yikes.
288 pages. Fully illustrated everything. And then he's like, I'm going to let it be. Because, remember, he's working on a new show.
Yeah.
So that's going to be where his efforts are going to be for the next couple years.
And then the other thing, which, he mentioned this when he first said, yeah, it's over, which was like half a fucking year ago. He's like, I don't own Gravity Falls. Disney does. If they want to reboot it, if they want to do anything else with it, that's not up to me. And I bet he had to explain it to a lot of these people he was interviewing, because people don't realize that.
He had to explain to every person who was interviewing him.
Like anytime I would talk about my aspirations as a cartoonist, like for some reason the first thing people would say as if they know anything would be like, "Oh, just make sure you keep your rights." And I'm like, "No, I can't. That's not how it works. I don't have them.
That's not how television works.
You idiot."
No. There's some stuff with like comics where with the right publishers you can do that, and like that was honestly the biggest,
always exceptions and
thing.
shit, but yeah.
And that's honestly the biggest thing that separates webcomics from print comics, is that it's way easier to maintain your rights in perpetuity or forever, if that's what in perpetuity means. It might, I don't know. But television, maybe that could happen in the future. Maybe there will be an Image channel, like Image but good, where like it's all about creator-owned stuff, but like there's no model in television or cinema that, well, I don't know about cinema, but I know television, probably not cinema, where that is not an extant thing.
The only thing, the only case I know about is George Lucas, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
I actually don't, but I know it'll take you at least 30 minutes to explain it.
Yep, we don't have time.
So what he was saying basically is, Disney is, with all likelihood, going to want to do something else with this. And if they're cool, they're going to invite him back. And he's saying, yeah, if I'm in the right place in my life, yeah, I'll do it.
Or at least get enough of the team back who's willing to come back, if not him.
Mm-hmm. The one thing, like...
Yeah, what a good team.
Because we were talking about like, the very end and the fact that there are still mysteries out there for the young twins and, adolescence and growing up and whatever. And I sort of understand, but like in the back of my mind, even though I was crying during the scene, I was like, they're not dying. It's not like they can never come back. This isn't Spirited Away. Like, they can always come back.
Part of what it might be is just the sense of scale and time that a child has. Even when you're 13, a year's a long fucking time.
Yeah, but, like, they kept saying, like, into the unknown. It's like, it's not the unknown. That's your hometown. You grew up there. You know your parents. You're trying to tell me you don't know what high school you're going to? Probably the same high school you always knew you were going to go to. Like, what are you talking about?
Turns out it burnt down while they were gone.
Like, they have no connections in their hometown?
What if their hometown had some, like, crisis, and it was, like, bad, but it's still, like, normal circumstances, and Dipper and Mabel have to act like they're phased at all. Just like, oh yeah, there was some fire, and like there was a string of arsons or like break-ins, and we were really worried one night, and we thought someone was coming to the house, and Dipper and Mabel were just like, oh yeah, that sounds really scary.
Was anybody turned into a chair? No? All right. Well, no reason.
God. Don't look at the pig.
I'm just so kooky.
Don't ask about the pig.
Oh.
As the greatest, like, I'm not dealing with this pig.
No, he's like, I can't take this anymore because he loves Mabel.
If you don't let this pig on the bus, we'll beat you up, Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, that was the thing. So they had a gun and knuckle dusters.
Oh my god, I love that scene Because like at first it's Stan, you're like, yeah, Stan would totally do it. Then Stanford comes in and does it too, and it's like, oh, they love everybody. Because, they sort of had to rush Stan Ford's development with the other characters. They didn't have as much time, especially with Mabel.
Yeah.
He spent most of the time with Dipper.
But that was part of his character, is that he was standoffish of family.
Yeah,
so it was
definitely.
sort of like trying to balance that,
Yeah,
and I think they did a good enough job. I feel like it'll be better again if we go back and watch them in succession when we don't have to wait several months.
But
not
it
having
makes sense.
any
I
characters.
can't wait to.
Because, like, the final goodbye was Grunkle Stan.
Yeah.
They didn't hug...
It was so good.
They didn't hug Ford the same way they hugged Stan. And it was heartbreaking.
They love me
beautiful.
more.
What was the line? It's like,
get out of here, kids. You've been a nuisance since the day you got here.
you two knuckleheads have been a nuisance from day one, and I'm glad to be rid of you. It's so good. He said that and they're all crying.
And then Mabel's like, we love you too, Grunkle Stan.
Oh, and then that gives us context for Kristen Schaal absolutely losing her shit at her final recording.
Because Alex didn't tell her it was the end until after she finished recording. And he's like, well, that's the last. And she was like, what? Yeah, no, that's the last line.
Mabel!
How can you do this to me?
She was a joy!
I also really like the encounter with Wendy, because, like, this is something that I've talked about a lot with the show, is the whole Dipper and Wendy stuff I think is very important. Because as somebody who I will fully admit was just the worst fuckboy until, like, I don't know when, but, because sometimes I still think it's today. But, like, I think it was so good, because, like, obviously there's never going to be anything romantic between them. But I like the way that Wendy put it. It's like, you mean a lot to me. Like, we're great friends. I really do care about you. Not romantically, but hey, that can't be helped. But you're still one of the coolest dudes I know. And, you're super important to me. And
take my hat. Don't do weird shit to it. Holy shit, don't.
I saw that cartoon you did, too.
I had to.
I gotta look this up.
Tooch basically made a joke where it was like, Wendy's like, here, take my hat, and don't jerk off in it.
Like, that was it. That was the whole bit. It was 2 panels.
Because Mabel did mention Dipper's weird internet history before, so it's like, okay. I mean, he's 13. Give him a
13.
break. He's 13.
Yeah.
So short, so small.
Only several pubes.
Still wearing shorts.
They're comfy and easy to wear.
Cute little shorts.
As long as you wear a short, you're still a youngster. I'm still on that tip. There's some stuff that I've loosened up about while this show has gone on, and shorts is not one of them.
That's really good to hear, because your thing with shorts was insufferable.
I'm still on the thing with shorts.
That's the one thing that hasn't budged.
I don't yell about it as much, but I still believe it.
One thing that I was kind of weird, because in the interview, some of the interviews, people mentioned, like, are we going to find out what Dipper's real name is? And Alex Hirsch said, yes, but we didn't, right?
I bet it's going to be, it's going to be in the book, and it's going to be like 8 layers of cryptograms.
Maybe he'll sign it, like, owned by...
Oh yeah, maybe. If it's comparative to Mabel, my guess, I don't fucking know. Abe?
I know, I was like, Mabel...
Abel is a name.
Yeah,
Abel?
but that's biblical. I wouldn't want to get into that if I was making a character.
Abel and Table.
Abel and...
And he's
Mabel...
like, well, my name's...
Mabel...
Maybe it also starts with an M.
Here's the thing. My name is Table, so Dipper was a lateral move.
Mabel and Syrup.
Michael?
Mabel Syrup.
Thinking of M names,
get it.
I'm just stuck on Mario.
Maple Syrup. The P's or B's.
Maple syrup.
Oh, Syrup. Okay. It took me a while because it was so dumb.
And I loved when Ford was explaining the Zodiac, because, he's like, well, the Zodiac isn't literal. It's symbolic. It just means somebody who's cool, or somebody who's smart.
That's another thing. I really feel like Robbie was supposed to be important, and then they just didn't bother with him. Am I wrong that he didn't get
maybe.
that he was like the one in in the Zodiac that got like the least important shit. Like, he showed up more than Pacifica, but I feel like Pacifica's episodes were like bigger. All of Robbie's plot lines is like, oh, no one wants to touch my weird dick.
Well, he was important to Dipper's growth,
I guess.
in that
Yeah,
sense.
he was important to Dipper's growth the same way that Pacifica was important to Mabel's growth.
It's the reason
So
why he
there
represented
was-
a heart, because it had to do with Dipper's...
Yeah. I guess
You know.
I would have really liked at least one, like, super, like, big Robbie episode.
I
just to
bet
prove that
they
he
would
was-
have liked to have done that episode and then, like, budget things.
Yeah.
But it's
Probably.
the same way that, like...
I still don't know why she's a llama.
You're right.
Like, I know in one of those in the important scene of that big Pacifica episode where she's talking to Dipper and Dipper's like giving her a hard time, there's like a llama portrait, but I don't know what that really has to. I don't know if that's just like a coincidence or if there's some sort of thing about the llama.
I think it was a super subtle Chekhov's gun, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think that was another one of those things where like they probably wanted to do more and then they just weren't able to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
It wasn't super necessary. But it's like you said, Robbie's importance was in the development of Dipper, which is why the heart represents, in a way, both of them. And that's why Pacifica's symbol, the llama, came from Mabel, because they developed each other in the same kind of way.
Yeah, and it was Mabel's sweater. I love when they were all wearing the sweaters. And I love the sweater parachutes. Yeah.
Yes.
So many sweaters.
She has so many sweaters to burn.
God, that raid on Bill's pyramid, by the way, was really good shit. Like, that whole fight sequence, because, like, mainly, like, the main thing about the raid that got me was that, like, everybody was using all sorts of stuff, like freaking like Hadoukens and the T-Rex thing and the Gobblewonk or whatever mech. But then Wendy just jumps on a bat and like takes it the fuck down with her bare hands.
I thought what she did, she rode it around and used it to shoot guys. I thought she was gonna whip its rings off like Kratos.
Yeah,
No.
she and then I had the realization my second time watching it. It was like they could have just like covertly shot Wendy in there through a tube, Metal Gear Solid style, and she would have snuck in and out with Ward, and then they would have just done the prophecy in the shack, and then it all would have been fine. And I want to see that. I want to see an AU where Wendy just single-handedly Metal Gear Solids her way through Bill's pyramid.
I mean, she Furiosa'd it in the last episode.
Tooch, you have got me irresponsibly excited. You son of a bitch.
I'm sure somebody will make that.
Yeah, me.
I mean, the fandom is still quite strong and
Oh,
productive.
Yeah, I've made this finale actually made me do some fan art of things I rarely do. I mean, also because I'm trying to draw more, but it's like also I did somebody drew Grungle Stan sitting in his chair surrounded by blue fire, and then the next panel is just him going, "This is fine." And like the gun show comic,
the Casey Green,
Yeah.
the Casey Green thing. Oh, by the way, he's doing idents for Adult Swim.
yeah, he did.
including
Yeah,
that
he
comic.
animated the "This is fine," and they got.
Yeah, him and somebody else whose name I don't know. Schmorky is their handle on Twitter.
I love that artist. They're really good.
And then him, and then Alex and Lindsay Small-Butera, who we've talked about before. They're Batman, Spider-Man, and that one in the Clarence Mushroom Samba. They did other voices. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love Casey Green. He's one of my favorite artists ever.
Yeah.
He's so funny in a way that's like funny for me.
Did you guys watch it live?
I did
I
not. I forgot things aired as early as 7 p.m., so I missed it.
No,
but then I watched
it's
it later.
okay. I only ask because you reminded me with that sort of like interstitial thing. Alex Hirsch did a stop motion special like send off interstitial that aired.
Yeah, our fucking dad muted it, and I'm like, Dad, unmute it. Dad, unmute it. And then he didn't unmute it until the very end.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to it. When I first saw it, I was like, it had Alex's Hirsch, but I was like, he couldn't have done the whole thing, but apparently he did the whole thing. And it's a stop motion thing of Stan putting together a horrifying monstrosity of the Disney XD logo, and then it eating him. Like, it was very scary.
That's nuts.
Like him making an attraction like Jackalope style, but way grislier.
But disgusting.
Oh, and also that great Seuss's finale and talk about how sweet that was. That it's like, it's like the end of the SpongeBob movie, but it's not going to be immediately retcon when season 4 starts.
Yeah, that was really, because he was like, it represents dreams and imagination. It's like, oh, Seuss, only to you.
And then
I
Grumble
was surprised
Stan...
everybody was like, boo, don't close it. And it's like, nobody cares about the shack.
Seuss will probably turn that shack like the fuck around because he actually gives a shit.
And did you see that he was working with his girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was so cute.
The girlfriend from Seuss and the Real Girl was working Wendy's job.
And Abuelita moved in right away. I move in immediately.
I love Abuelita.
Me too. I guess the only thing left is the cryptograms.
Yeah, man.
Right, I got them. They took a while, but I'm gonna blame that on the wiki being overloaded. I know Mystery of Gravity Falls has like a cryptogram decoder thing, and that guy tweeted is like, oh, it broke.
Yeah.
Also, a Mystery of Gravity Falls tweeted all the pages at the end of each episode make one cohesive image.
Yeah, it's huge.
Whoa.
And he collaged it together. That'd be a good poster
of both seasons.
Journal.
No, just the second.
No,
one.
There were only pages in season 2.
Right. Okay.
Okay, let's see what I got. Oh, I forgot. My favorite joke in there was the French subtitle where the guy just said, "Je ne sais quoi sur le bleu au revoir."
Yeah.
I don't believe
And
that
the
was
subtitle
French.
said, "I don't believe that was French."
There's a je ne sais quoi sacre bleu au revoir, which is not what that means.
The backwards message at the end of the theme song said, "Goodbye, Gravity Falls." The first two were, "I'm watching you, nerds," and then more angrily, "I'm watching you." Both Bill sang it.
And Goodbye...
Although that sounded like Stan, because it's just the voice I do.
Yeah, and Goodbye Gravity Falls is kind of like a parallel to the first episode, which was Secret Code, was Welcome to Gravity Falls.
On the there's a code on the bus seat Dipper sits at that when decoded with the key phrase, "hidden deep within the woods a buried treasured waits," it reads, "secrets lost and statues found beyond the rusty gates." So that's actually the longest key phrase there's ever been, and I wonder where that was in the episode. Because those are like the things where it's like on the spine of the dinosaur in the Mystery of the Blind Guys episode. So I wonder where that was. That may have been in the newspaper.
Is that
Maybe.
a reference to Bill's statue?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. I think it's one of the things is like Bill, Bill's like Ganondorf. He's never entirely gone. He can only be sealed away. There's the end credits one, which when decoded with the other keyword axolotl. Is that how you pronounce that whooper animal?
Yep, axolotl.
That's how you pronounce
Axolotl?
it with an English accent.
Oh,
All right.
then.
It reads "Goodbye, Gravity Falls," which, as Nina said, parallels Welcome to Gravity Falls. Axolotl was heard during Bill Cipher's death.
Yeah, it was
among
what he
other
opened
stuff.
with his backwards speak.
And then he also said, "My time has come to burn. I invoke the ancient power that I may return." There were 2 pages, one of Ford and one of Stan. The first one was 10 symbols placed around a wheel. Hand in hand they'll bond the seal. But break the chain and pay the cost. The prophecy will all be lost. So that was a spoiler for the second episode if anyone could decode it before it aired during the commercial break. One thing I liked,
Yeah?
the first half of it was actually cancerous with commercials. There was like 3 commercial breaks in 10 minutes. It was horrible. But then for the second half, they just aired it straight through.
Yeah.
Great.
The second cryptogram, faded pictures bleached by sun, the tales told, the summer's done. In memories, the pines still play on a sunny summer's day.
Aw.
That essentially it'll live on forever in our hearts and minds.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the cool thing about Axolotl is that apparently in Alex Hirsch's Reddit whenever there was a spoiler question, he replied with a picture of an axolotl.
Ah! That man.
I know.
Oh, man.
He's
Oh,
good at it.
Yep.
He's a good one.
It's too much.
I look forward to him having the best cartoon on Fox.
Oh wait. Okay, I'm looking at the wiki, and I may have missed this. It said Dipper clones 3 and 4 have survived in the forest by wearing raincoats.
Yeah,
they were in the credits.
When they were showing all
okay.
Polaroids.
Yeah.
It was cute. One of them was like reading a
Yeah.
book or something, and that was playing a banjo, and they were in like little rain ponchos and in a tent in the woods. And I was like, "Aw!" I literally
best
didn't think
buds.
we'd ever see them again.
I'm very glad we did.
Yeah. I was a little confused with the continuity with those, though, because it was like all 4 of them, both sets of twins, and I was like, is this like in that brief period after Weirdmageddon? I guess, didn't they have like a week after Weirdmageddon before it was their birthday or something?
I think.
While Stan was recovering his memories.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess that was that week.
Yeah.
Ford in his turtleneck. Very cute. Very sweet.
Yeah, and then also there was that my other favorite part of the credits photo album was those tree carvings of like all of Mabel's crushes, and then at the end it's just like Mabel plus Mabel around a heart, and I was like, yeah!
That was so sweet.
Yeah.
That was all the payoff, because like that was like every time we talked about Gravity Falls and there was like a Mabel episode, like that was always our gripe. It's like, when is she gonna get over boys?
I know.
Mabel, they're actually the worst.
Yep. Do you know apparently that a lot of all the boys that Mabel had a crush on were names of boys that Ariel Hirsch had either had a crush on or dated?
Yeah.
That is
every
dope.
time an episode would air, his sister would like call him up angrily, like, "Why is that name in the show?"
It must have been hard to be his brother for these 4 years.
She I think she had like again in that like mysteries answer question answer episode, she had a bit voice as one of the several times fanboys, because that was also a thing she was big in was boy bands.
Well, he wasn't gonna invite, what was that dude's name?
Chris Kirkpatrick, or is it a different one?
Not Kirkpatrick. He wasn't gonna invite one of those boy band dudes that his sister was in love with to do an episode and not let her meet him, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like, he did it just so they could meet, right? No wonder she spent so much time at Burning Man, though. It's like, tired. Like, I need to get away. All these random strangers tweeting at me.
That was my favorite Reddit Q&A, Reddit Ask AMA, was when they asked Alex Hirsch, like, would Dipper or Mabel ever get any tattoos? And he said Dipper would be too chicken. Mabel would accidentally get one at Burning Man that she's ashamed of, but she has to act like she loves it.
Yeah. I love Christian. They asked the actors like what they think the characters are going to do like when they grew up, and I love Christian Shaw, where she was just like, Mabel's going to become like an inner city teacher and like fucking bring the pep to these kids.
Oh God, Mabel, you're a fucking hero.
And I'm like, yes. And Shaw was pretty sad because she was like, out of all the characters she ever played, Mabel came the easiest. Like, it didn't matter what kind of mood she is when she went in the booth. Just like when it was time to be Mabel, she could just tap into her inner joy and energy. And she's like, now that Mabel's gone, like, how am I gonna get to that joy?
Oh no,
what's gonna happen? But
I guess I'll just have to keep winning Emmys, and I just have to keep winning Annie Awards for how good my voice acting is.
Yeah, no, she's fine. She's got a lot of shit going on. But, you know, it was sweet. Because Hirsch plays half the characters, it's mostly just the 3 of them in the booth.
Yeah.
So they built up a good relationship.
I'm sure, and I'm sure, like, in the classic style of, you know, when you find good people to work with, you keep working with them. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in his next thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They'd want to.
Of course.
I mean, and all the guest people were saying how it was really cool. You know, you had, you know, Yankovic, you had Nathan Fillion, there was even Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about how much they enjoyed working on the show. And weird
Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about how everything in the finale was impossible.
Weird Al is just the nicest man. Like,
I'm really looking forward to Murphy's Law, because they play like a little ad for that.
He was just so cordial, and like, I was so grateful to be part of the show. It was so fun, and I love coming to Disney, and I was like, why do you have to be such a good guy?
Remembering Weird Al is in Gravity Falls, I just realized, like, man, I think Weird Al would have been an interesting choice for Bill.
Yeah.
For some reason I had that thought.
Weird Al, he would have been a great choice for Bill. I wonder if Bill was Hirsch just because it's like, maybe they wanted somebody and they couldn't get somebody, and they wanted to do something that was safer.
Yeah, it was probably a safety issue because they wouldn't want to have to recast them.
Yeah, if they couldn't get him back.
And probably it was one of those things where it's like, you know, when you're doing script readings, it was probably a matter of like, that voice you're doing for him is perfect. I don't know why we want to bother finding someone else. Like, that happens a lot.
Yeah, and like, Bill's voice has a lot of effects on it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still a good performance, because he's going for that like sleazy car salesman kind of thing. Like, he has a bit for him. He's got a character fleshed out for him.
Yeah, and when he's scary, he's mad. Like, the bit with the Achilles heel was very well delivered and very satisfying. Even though I didn't want him to win, I was like, oh shit,
that was
pulled that leg off and chuck that house.
God, that was so good. And then like that freaking that version of the theme song that played during the fight, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
The week the show aired, I started like scouring SoundClouds to find remixes that sound like that. Yeah, I think this is really all we could have asked for in the show. Oh, like there's nothing really that left me unsatisfied about it. I had one little thing. I was hoping Durland and Blubs were gonna kiss because it just felt right, but like I know what.
No,
they
did
wanted
say love,
them to,
which was good.
They went as far as they could to make them kiss.
There's a lot of screen caps of like when they're doing the arm in arm and looking at each other, and then they post that exact same pose that Ruby and Sapphire were in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Yep."
I mean, it was so clear from the jump that those two fucks are gay as hell, and obviously it was always very silly, but not like it's not the joke is that they're gay, it's that the joke is that they're two very silly men who are in love to a silly degree.
Yeah. And I love when they reunite and like the whole town applauds. Like everybody's happy that they're back together. Like they went as far as they were allowed to. They really did.
Yeah.
All right, that was Gravity Falls. Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone else who worked on that show. Did you see that video Emmy Ciceriga did? She did two. She did one that was the board pitch, and one where it's like, if you love something, let it go. And she put the figurines of Dipper and Mabel on a kid's like kickboard and put it in a river.
I didn't see that second one, but I have to.
And it like after like 8 seconds in the water, it got caught on a stick.
Oh.
So Gravity Falls is done, and so are we.